to save time. I know I like to clap, and I like to jump up and down, and I like to say hurrah. But tonight, would you please hold your applause until the end of the debate? Because it just, sometimes it's disruptive. And we like for you to wait till they're finished at the end, and then you can clap and holler whatever you want. Okay. I'm going to call this meeting to order. And I would like for Mimi Barreras to please come up and say the prayer. Mimi, of course she's in the back. And David, get ready because you're going to come up and say the pledge. David, start coming this way, sweetheart.
Lord, I just thank you. It's exciting to see so many people come out tonight, Lord, and I just ask that you would bless this time, that it would be honoring to you, that you would give us wisdom and discernment for those of us who are still making decisions, Lord. I pray that you would give these candidates words they want to say and help them be clear and effective, Lord. We pray for wisdom and unity and just your guiding hand. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank you for the nice facility.
First we're going to do the pledge to the United States flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now to the great state of Texas. Honor the Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
And I'm not David, I'm Lieutenant Jonathan Aldridge. I work for Constable Chris Jones.
My name is Joelle Whitehead. I am the president of the Magnolia Area Republican Women's Group, and I cannot thank you enough for showing up tonight for our candidate forum. We truly do appreciate it, and I'm a big believer in informing yourself of what you're going into that voting for. So anyway, we need to get Miss Linda, where are you? She's coming. She's going to introduce our candidates that are here visiting with us tonight. She's also going to allow some of the candidates to come forward and have a few minutes to say something about themselves before we get into the actual forum. And do you know your mouth gets dry when you're over here? What do they have? Some special blower that blows on your mouth?
It's invisible.
Okay, hi everybody. I'm glad you're here tonight. What a great crowd we have. Shows that everybody's interested in what's going on with our county. So first of all, I'd like to introduce the elected officials that are here. Crystal Moon, is it Moon? Moore. Okay. She is the ENCRW president. Would you like to come up as or just stand up and raise your hand?
I'm not running for anything. I just.
Okay. Constable Jean DeForest, right over here. Commissioner Charlie Riley. District Clerk Melissa Miller. And MISD School Board Sonia Abel. Is there any elected officials that I missed? Oh. Okay, I have two of them. Chris Jones is right here. House Representative introduce y'all, the ones that are going to be part of the forum tonight. Y'all can go ahead and come up and get ready to go. The first part is going to be the chairman candidates. So you'll be up first. So first of all, we have for county chair, as many of y'all know, Dr. Wally Wilkerson has held this position for like 55 years now. And he has finally decided that he's going to retire, and he has actually endorsed Bryan Christ. He is one of the candidates, and there's another candidate that is John Boucher, but he declined to come tonight. So we'll just be asking questions of Bryan Christ. Then I'll go ahead and announce y'all the next thing that we'll be doing is the District Court 457, or District Judge 457th Judicial District. We have Bob, well, depends on whether you want to get to know him and call him what his nickname is, or whether you want to call him his formal name. Robert Bobby Kasprzak, Bid Santini, Bruce Tough, and Chris Buck. And they will all be, y'all will all be coming up in just a little bit. I just wanted to go ahead and announce them. And then the next thing that we will be debating is the county constable for Precinct 5. And so we have Brian Clack here, and then we also have Chris Jones. Okay, and at this time I want to go ahead and call, we have some candidates here that are for the Chief Justice 9th Court of Appeals. They are not going to be part of the forum tonight. We're actually going to focus on them at our next meeting in February. So that we wanted to give them at least a minute or two to come up and introduce themselves and say a couple words. So we have Chuck Meyer here. Scott, you're going to be next. Jared Walker, and then Colleen. I guess Jay Wright. Did Jay Wright come in? I hadn't seen him. You have a couple minutes.
Well, it's really great to be here tonight. I'm going to take just 2 minutes of your time. Please, please, please come February 17th, 18th to the next forum for the Court of Appeals.
Oh, 17th for the forum, yes.
I was right. I have a concurrence here already, and I'm not even on the bench. My name is Chuck Meyer. I've been married for 36 years to my lovely wife, Monica. I only have 2 goals in this speech. One, if you're a social media user, remember, elect Chuck Meyer, because the Facebook page is Elect Chuck Meyer. The website is electchuckmeyer.com. And if you do Instagram or Twitter, not that there's much out there, it's also at Elect Chuck Meyer. Second point, my goal here tonight is to keep my composure. We're going through some difficult times in my family. My daughter was in the ICU last week. She's in the final phase of her life. She'll be going into hospice care sometime soon. And I've dedicated my campaign not just to my daughter Emily, but to my wife and my other 2 daughters. And I'm not suspending my campaign. I'm not dropping out, because I think that's what Emily and my family would like us to do. So I have a lot of empathy for those of you who've lost loved ones, particularly children. As we've had the diagnosis of my daughter for many years, but come to the forum and you'll hear more about me other than my family. But the 3 F's, faith, family, and a fantastic experience in my legal career are what I'm going to be talking about at that point in time. But tonight you've got faith. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. My name is Scott Goldman. I appreciate your vote for Chief Justice of the 9th District Court of Appeals. This court is different from what y'all are used to. This court handles appeals from judgments in county court of law and district courts. And you may say, well, what do you need to do to be a justice? Well, if you got an educational background, it's like grading papers. If you're a sports fan, it's like being an umpire or referee. You got to decide if the proper law was applied and followed, if the rules of evidence, rules of civil procedure were properly applied and followed. You got to decide if the judge acted appropriately throughout the entire process, if the parties acted appropriately, if the parties' attorneys acted appropriately, and did the correct judgment come out of the court. If it did, you uphold it. If there was error, you reverse it. So what do you have to do to be able to handle these type of issues? Well, ladies and gentlemen, you have to have extensive trial experience. That's the only way you know how all this stuff intermeshes, intertwines. And if you check us out, and I ask you to check all of us out, go to places like the Republic Voters of Texas PAC. We all answered questionnaires. Look at those. And what you're going to see is that in 31 years of trial practice, I've tried over 300 jury cases across the state of Texas. Now, like all my opponents, are fine people, but when you add all 4 of them up, they don't even come close to my 300 jury trials. So I feel like I'm the most qualified. This isn't something you can read a book and learn how to do or get on-the-job experience. You have to have that extensive trial experience, and I'm the most qualified candidate for that. Part of this judge position is administrative, and that's a small part of what the Chief Justice does. It's so small that he only gets paid $2,500 more a year than the other justices. But judges don't get to pick their cases or what they're going to author. It's all decided by the clerk of the Court of Appeals. Thank you very much.
You ready, Susan? Yes. We're not going to get to that stop. My name is Jared Walker, and I'm running for Chief Justice of the Ninth Court of Appeals. And I'll start with, first of all, as far as my opponent, Chuck. Like Scott said, I wish I could get a mat on for all my opponents, but they're all good people. And our heart certainly goes out to Chuck and the struggles his family is going through right now. But what is the Ninth Court of Appeals about? I'm going to disagree with this guy. I've got as much, if not more, jury trial experience than my opponents. In addition to that, it's about appellate experience. How are you going to do it if you haven't done it before? And this is easily discoverable if you look online. I have approximately in the range of about 60 appeal cases. That's a lot. Most lawyers don't practice in that area. And once again, I have extensive experience. In addition to that, we talked about the administrative duties of the Chief Justice. It's a 4-judge court, but the Chief Justice is kind of an anomaly that that Chief Justice has to, in addition to ruling on cases, is in charge of the day-to-day operations of the court. I have experience in that area. I've managed a law firm. In addition to that, I'm currently, she's got the stop sign out. I'm currently the president of the Montgomery County Drug Court Association. I was asked to do that by a couple of our judges. In addition to that, I was recently asked to be legal counsel for the Montgomery County Mental Health Court. So, having said that, how many seconds? 1 second. Perfect. Thank you, Jared Walker.
Hi, thank you all. It's especially honorable to be here tonight to talk to you on such a special day and to honor Dr. Martin Luther King, who stood up for so many who needed their freedoms to be protected. And like my opponents, I also extend my condolences to the Meyer family. Mr. Meyer's daughter is actually a ward in the court where I work, and we all have her best interest at heart and hope that the family can have a lot of peace with her through the coming days. I'm calling Courts Rise, and I'm also running for Chief Justice of the Ninth Court of Appeals. And all the experience in the world at trial and jury trial and in filing appeals is not going to give any of us the expertise we need to make decisions as an appellate court judge. None of us in the race have been judges. None of us have ever been appellate judges. And what you really need to look for is someone who is organized and understands the law and dedicated to finding the truth of the law and to upholding the constitutions of the United States and of Texas. And that is me. I have a lot of civil experience. My husband and I have been married for 23 years, almost 24, and we raised 4 children here in Montgomery County. And following a Christian faith and trying to raise them all to be really good citizens. And during that time, we've practiced civil law in our practice, and then a few years ago, I was called away to work for County Court of Law 2 in Montgomery County here, where we handle civil trials and also all of the probate, including all of the guardianships for incapacitated adults in the county. So not only do I have civil experience, but I also have experience advising the court on how to rule so that our court can avoid being appealed. So while I haven't been a judge, I have been in the position of making judgment calls based on the law to make sure that my court is following the law. And because of those reasons, I'd like for you to look into me and to consider voting for me. A vote for Colleen Rice is a vote for justice. Thank you.
Okay, next I'm going to announce all of the precinct chairs that are here that are running for office this go around. So if you are here, you can go ahead and come up. If you want to say a word, we'll hand you the microphone. So we have Tim Gordon for Precinct Chair 13. We have Heather Silvio for Precinct Chair 76. Anna Greathouse for Precinct Chair 30. David Eason. Oh no, sorry David. Kim Earthman for Precinct Chair 40. Sandra Grossman for Precinct Chair 81. Ritzy Fletcher for Precinct Chair 31. Ken Walling for Precinct Chair 28. Becky Vance. Becky, what's your number?
18.
For Precinct Chair 18. Pat Truesdale for Precinct Chair 69. Is there any other precinct chairs here? Oh, Charlie Parada. He's an incumbent precinct chair, but he has an opponent in this race. Is there anybody else? If y'all can have 1 minute.
Okay, and I'm gonna take a picture of all y'all, so y'all squeeze together. I went like this. Yeah, he's gonna be. Okay, I guess you'll all squeeze a little bit more past. Come in a little bit tighter. Okay. Okay, 2 pictures. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
I'm Charlie Brady, Precinct 38, which is Grand Harbor, Del Lago, in that area. And for the first time in 12 years, the people that have decided to cause so much division here in Montgomery County have run somebody against me that, as far as I know, has never been in politics. So if any of you who live in that part of the area, please give me your vote. Thanks.
Hi y'all, I'm Ritzy Fletcher, and I am running for Precinct Chair against Betty Anderson in Precinct 31. So, if you know anybody in Precinct 31, where is Precinct 31? It is Shenandoah on the west side of the freeway, 45 freeway. It's part of Alden Bridge, and that little Hope Road, kind of call it Scary Road. Hope Road, it's kind of like some old country homes out that way. So if you know anybody out that way, send them my way. Ritzy Fletcher.
I'm Becky Vance. I'm running for Precinct Chair 18. I am in Old Magnolia. We are, that's Cripple Creek Farms North, all of the center, 1488, 1774, all of that general direction. I'm also a real estate agent here in town, so I am treasurer of the HOA at my subdivision as well, so I would appreciate your vote. Becky Vance, Precinct Chair number 18.
Who are you running against?
Andy O'Dare.
Okay.
Oh.
Hi, my name is Sonia. They didn't tell me I had to talk tonight, but I'm running for Precinct 76, which is in Westwood behind Kroger. I'm new to all this, so.
That's great.
Okay, I'm not the only one here.
Running for Precinct Chair, Precinct 13. That's Tim Green, Kipping Oaks, High Meadow Ranch, and Wood Trace. So if you know anybody, she said, or he said, if you know anybody lives there, have them vote for me. Thank you.
Who you running against?
Running against Brian Christ.
Okay. Yeah. We gotta know who you're running against.
My name is Ken Walling. I'm running
precinct chair of 28. That's basically the Decker Prairie area. My wife and I, Leslie, our children, we've been a part of that area for over 40 years. New to this, looking forward to it, and anything that you could do to help out, I appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kim Earthman. I'm running for Precinct Chair 40 against Henry Daniels. I'm really excited about this. It's all new, but it's really important for Montgomery County that everyone gets involved, and I'm really excited.
I'm Sandra Grossman. I'm Precinct 81, which is in the Woodlands, Alden Bridge, and a strip of Magnolia. And Charlie's my commissioner.
Amen.
And I'm going to get Kurt Locklear.
Hi there, I'm Anna Greathouse. I'm running for Precinct Chair, Box 30. I live in Austin Manor, and I've lived here almost 22 years. It's hard to say that I'm dating myself. So I'm also a realtor, so I can't say enough about Montgomery County. I mean, I grew up in Dallas, and I've officially lived here longer than I did when I grew up in Dallas. So if you know anybody who lives in Precinct 30, I appreciate your vote. Stay ready.
I'm Pat Truesdale. I'm a candidate for Precinct 69's chair, and my opponent is John Works. I was the precinct chair, and then you ran against me and knocked me out, so I hope to return the favor. I'm in Charlie's precinct, or his district also, but if you if you have friends in the Woodlands area and Alden Bridge, between Kirkendall and Research Forest and 242, that area, that's where I hail from. So please, I've got some cards I've had made, and I'll be glad to give you some, let you take them with you. Pass them on to your friends in my neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank y'all.
I can't tell you how important these people are.
Yeah.
They really, that's one of our most important things to do.
I just have one more person to introduce. This is Kirk Osborne, and he is running for Congressional District 8. We're going to let him have more time next month whenever we're doing that for him, but we want to let him have just a minute to introduce himself, and then we'll get started with the forum.
Hey guys, thank you so much. I appreciate it. So I'm not a lawyer or a politician. I'm an engineer and a businessman for the last 40 years. I just closed my business 3 months ago to be in this race. And the reason I've done it, my wife is over here, Lou, could not do this without her. You know, we were talking about the direction our country is heading. And the next time, which is going to be in 2020, when Trump wins bigly, we're going to take the House back, right? And when we take the House of Representatives back, we're going to have the House, the Senate, and the White House. And when we do, how about we fulfill our promises? Let's repeal Obamacare completely. Let's reduce those prices to what they used to be, $400 a month for a family of 4 instead of $1,400 a month. And let's build the wall. Let's do those things that we promised. I'm running against Kevin Brady. Love to have your support. Thank you very much. You might have to write this stuff with Scott. I'm sharing a table with you. I just paid to jump in there. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we need to see if there is any additions or corrections to the minutes. They were given out. I need to make sure that we don't have any additions or corrections for our last meeting. Anybody? Okay, they're going to stand as approved. Our treasurer's report is out. If there's no corrections to that, anybody? Then that reads stands approved. Now, we're going to get into the meat of the evening. I would like for our moderators to stand up. Karen McIntyre, Community Impact News. Beth O'Brien from Good Morning News. And our timekeeper is Susan Johnson. She makes me. These ladies are going to be paramount to this evening. Like we said, one of our candidates, not a very important know you came to hear him speak. And I'm sorry that he didn't come. But we're going to go ahead and ask the one that did come for the chairmanship of the Republican Party of Montgomery County. We're going to ask him to please answer the questions. And we're going to give him the courtesy of having the timekeeper keep his time. Ladies, are you ready?
We're ready.
Brian, you want to introduce yourself, please? You get 2 minutes.
It's working. Well, good evening. My name is Bryan Christ, and as Jodelle said, I am running for chairman of the Republican Party in Montgomery County. I'm grateful that y'all are all out here tonight to introduce you just briefly to my background. So I am married to my wife of 18 years. I have 3 children over here on the front row watching you kids. And in terms of my career experience, which is part of what I'm hoping to bring to the table, I've been a project manager. Actually started out in the technical field at Compaq when there was such a thing. Eventually that became Hewlett-Packard. I grew into a project management role, and I've been managing projects and teams in some form or fashion ever since then. I've also served in 2006 through 2008. I served as a volunteer youth minister and did that for my church. And so if you think about what the county chairman and the CEC, which is composed of all of the precinct chairs, is responsible for, I hope to kind of join that project management background with my community outreach background and serve in that capacity, because I think that's really what it takes. It takes that sort of leadership mentality plus that spirit of willingness to reach out to the community to serve in that role. And so hopefully tonight, during the course of the questions that are asked of me, you'll get a chance better to understand how I plan to do that. Thank you.
Question 1, voter education and inclusion of all ethnic groups and ages are a problem across party lines. Clearly, the Republican Party needs to both encourage those voters and educated votes at large. What are some ways that the party can do that, and how can we do that at the local and county level?
How long do I have to answer? Great question. So let me just tell you that I spent some time not too long ago crunching numbers, looking at what's going on at the national level, and the Republican Party is failing nationally in 3 key areas. One of them is our inclusion of women to the Republican Party. We have some fantastic women's club here in Montgomery County. They are sort of bucking that trend, doing better than the national average, and that's great. I want to see what the party can do to help them. Can we do more through these fantastic organizations? Number 2, we're failing to reach out to minorities, especially the Latino community. I know of some fantastic volunteers and efforts. I've been told I can use their names: Marisa Rummel, Marlene Tejeda, Joan Martin. They are involved in an outreach ministry to the Latino community and working to combat the message. This is what the Latino community is hearing. They're hearing the message that the Republican Party is the party of the white wealthy, and the Democrat Party is the party of the poor minority. I disagree with that, and I disagree with that strongly. The Latino community has a very conservative culture, and I think that we can get that message to them. So if I'm elected, I'm going to reach out to those folks. I'm going to ask them, what can we do to help you? What can we do to help that outreach program that you can do to make that better? The last segment that I think the Republican Party is not doing well with is youth. There's a lot to unpack here. I've just been signaled I have 30 seconds. I'll say this. In the short term, I think we have a fantastic opportunity to reach out to our churches. For too long, our pastors and our ministers have been afraid to go into the public arena. I want to challenge them to do that differently, and I want to go into the churches and I want to talk to our youth about issues, because the issues will determine what party you affiliate with. Thank you.
cross party lines here in Montgomery County?
Great question. This is one of the fundamental things that I'm running on. There's a stark difference between my opponent, who's not here tonight, and I. Normally you don't speak for your opponent, but I'll tell you this. You can go on video, you can see what my opponent's position on this is. He has openly said that if I'm elected, I will entertain the idea of scoring Republicans during a primary. In other words, what he's telling you is that maybe the county party needs to make that decision for you. In other words, you don't trust your voter. I think that's bad. I think that's bad because when you start scoring a Republican against another Republican during the primary, what you're effectively going to do is you're going to alienate a portion of your voting base.
Right.
Now, think about the Ted Cruz race. 200,000 votes was about what he won by. At a state race, that's a slim win. You alienate a portion of your Republican voter base that stays home because they don't like what you told them they had to vote for. Now that slim win becomes what? A slim loss. And Montgomery County that was red and the parts of Texas that were strongly red now are blue. I don't want that to happen. I believe his approach is wrong, and I stand firm on that.
The state ethics site released campaign information recently, so basically all of this is public information. So tell us who your top 3 donors are, how much they donated to finance your campaign, and your relationship with these donors.
Wow. My top donors. I think probably my top donor got a great contribution from Dr. Wilkerson, who's supporting me. He's held the county chairmanship for 55 years. If it weren't for him, we wouldn't have a party here in Montgomery County Republican Party. There's been so many fantastic contributions, and a lot of folks in this room have contributed. Commissioner Metz, I think, I haven't known him very long, but he seems like a stand-up guy. Yeah, the guy strikes me as being a man of his word, and so I'm proud to have his support. I know that he's donated. I apologize. I actually feel like I should be telling you everybody who's contributed because I'm proud of the contributions I have. And that's the thing. The question is, in what relationship do you have with them? I'm willing to have a relationship with anybody. That's kind of part of what I'm running on. I'm not going to not shake your hand because we disagree, right? That's just not what I'm going to do. And again, kind of piggybacking off the previous question about unity, I don't think you can unify the party by saying, hey, you know what, I'm not going to talk to you just because we disagreed over something. Let's disagree, but let's be civil about it. So, I don't know. Thank you all. Everybody who's contributed to my campaign, thank you.
How would you describe the role of county Republican chairman, and what financial responsibilities do you perceive the chairman will have in this elected position?
Sure. The way I view the county chairmanship is kind of a macrocosm of how I view the CEC itself. I believe that it's 80% servanthood, 20% leadership, and I'm going to use that word loosely because any good leader knows that actually leadership is service, right? But let me use those terms loosely. I believe that the party and the chairman should be functioning to serve the greater party. We should be working to get new voters into the Republican Party. We should be working to get information out, share information. I would love nothing more to see precinct chairs start hosting little town halls with Cecil and Charlie and some of these other elected officials. How great would that be if you could have that? And so I view it as a servant role. When it comes to the money, let me just talk about that real quick. I think that the chairman, along with the CEC, should be undertaking efforts to fundraise. That's been a challenge, especially with the current rift in the party. I know people that were paralyzed to contribute because of that. And so, my promise to you is we'll use that money effectively. We'll use it after the primary is over, after you the people have picked the Republican nominee. We'll use that money to promote them. We'll make sure that that Republican gets the dollars or whatever we need to do to get those folks in office against the Democrats. And I'll be a good steward of the money. I'll use the money wisely, and I expect the whole of the CEC to do the same.
Well, we're really sorry your opponent wasn't here, and I think he did a fantastic job.
Okay, while the candidates for 457 start to make their way up, I want to correct a couple things that I've missed. Audrey Young is here with the Texas State Board of Education, District 8. She's actually the member-elect. Also, James Holian is here for Kevin Brady. And come on up here because I didn't give you a chance. I let Kirk come up here. James, let's have you just say a quick word. Also, guess who is in the house? Dr. Wally.
Good evening. My name is James. I'm here for Kevin Brady. So in late December, we got the good news via tweet, of course, that we actually got President Trump's endorsement. We're the only candidate for that president's endorsement. They work really well together. And that basically goes down to the tax cuts that Kevin Brady passed, which is benefiting working Americans and small business owners. Allowing us to hire more people as well as raise wages for the first time in like 50 years. We also have the WEP loophole bill that we are working bipartisan with the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee to get passed and to give our teachers and our first responders the Social Security that they need into and that they deserve. And then also, last but not least, our drug reform bill, or drug price bill. It's going to revamp the whole drug price, or prescription drug prices, so our seniors aren't hurt by the costly drugs that they have. So not only do I speak for myself, but also President Trump when I say Kevin Brady is obviously the correct choice for this position. Thank you.
I need to share with all of you. The questions that are being asked tonight came from our membership. We asked the membership to please submit questions. They did. A committee sat down and composed the questions to be asked tonight. The ones they felt that were most pertinent. Next, and so I hope no one's offended by any of the questions because it's something that people really cared about. And second, we have refreshments in the back, so please make sure that you stop by the refreshment table and nourish yourselves because the chef here is absolutely fabulous. And now, Linda, do you have some more announcements? Please.
All right, so now for District Judge, 457th Judicial District, we have Bobby Kasprzak, Vince Santini, Bruce Tough, and Chris Buck. Again, you'll notice that we have an empty chair at the end. Eric Yolick is also another candidate that has chosen not to attend our meeting tonight. I think we'll go down
If you want your judge to be an activist or an advocate, I'm not your guy. If you're looking for the loudest, most energetic, I'm not your guy. If you don't care about civil law experience, I'm not your guy. If you want someone who wears their emotions on their sleeve, riles people up on religious or political issues, if you want your judge to care more about your morals than their own, or who would rather have your vote for the wrong reasons than to surrender it for the right ones, I'm not your guy. But if you want your general civil court judge to have a broad and extensive array of general civil law experiences, a unique perspective on issues from years of experience, the knowledge and intelligence to understand and apply the law as written, the courage to do what's right, the temperament to rule justly but fairly, the consideration and compassion to listen to both sides equally, the moral character, the respect for the robe, the gavel, and the bench, with a calm, neutral, unbiased, deliberate, and thoughtful disposition, I'm right here. And I very much appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Vince Santini. I'm running for the Fighting 457 District Court. I'm loud, I'm passionate, because I care about the truth, our values, and I care about y'all's values, and I care about serving y'all, all right? It's about experience, service, and temperament. That's what this court is about. This is what our county needs. This is what the Republican Party in our country needs. Because so goes Texas, so goes the country. And we, Montgomery County, is the heart. We are the heart of Texas. And you need, the thing about being a judge is that judges work in a courtroom. You need a judge who's no stranger to a courtroom. Here are the duties of the 457th District Court. This is what y'all need to match our experience with to see if we're going to do a good job on these matters. First and foremost, this court was created for one reason and one reason only: docket management. I'm the only candidate in this race that was in charge of not one, but 2 district courts in our county. I've served Montgomery County my entire career, all right? And I was in charge of 1,200 cases in each court, the 435th and the 359th District Court. Month after month, I disposed of more cases than came in. I efficiently and effectively moved y'all's dockets, not our courts, y'all's courts. I have experience in all the other areas here, presiding over trials. I was the #1 ranked trial attorney in the nation. I went to South Texas College of Law. I'm an expert in the civil rules of the rules of evidence. I presided over 75 trials. I tried 75 trials, including capital murder cases, the most important cases that affect our community. Vote for Vince Santini for the 457th District Court.
Okay, welcome everybody. My name is Bruce Tough. I love Montgomery County. My family, I've raised my 4 daughters in Montgomery County, married to my wife Diana. I live in the Woodlands. And to see these precinct chair candidates up here is just amazing. And God bless you. I first ran for elected office as the president of the Woodlands Community Association, and Adrian Heath ran against me. So that's how it all started with my career. I've held a lot of volunteer offices: Conroe Independent School District trustee, president of the Woodlands Fire Department, recently chairman of the Woodlands Township. A lot of those were opposed by certain factions that have tried to divide this county. That's the same group. And it's really a shame, because I've seen how wonderful Montgomery County is, and I've seen this great division that's occurred, and God bless you for trying to bring it back and unify it. So thank you so much. During all the time that I've served in these elected offices, which were all volunteer offices, because of my service, that I love service. I love serving the county. I love serving my community. I love doing this. And at this point in my career, I would be honored to represent you and serve as 457th District Judge. During all the time that I've served in these elected offices, my love and my passion and my career is a civil trial attorney. That's what I do. I've been trying cases, hundreds of civil trial cases, and that's what this court is. It's a civil trial court designated. I'm the only candidate that's been appointed as a guardian of the estate, guardian of the person, ad litem, a receiver, and a mediator by all the judges in Montgomery County to help them move their dockets and their cases. I believe I'm the most qualified candidate, and I'm asking for your vote. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you guys for having me. My name is Chris Buck, and I'll tell you a little bit why I wanted to run for this court. It is a civil court and it matches my experience, but before I get into that, this is my community, this is my part of the world. I grew up in Magnolia and then later on in Tomball. Split my childhood between the two. I live in the Woodlands now and have for the last 11 years, and effectively, other than college and law school, I've spent my entire life in this part of the world. All of my family, all of my close personal friends, they all are part of our communities that make up Montgomery County and this part of the world. Now, a little bit about my experience. I've been practicing in civil litigation for over a decade. I do various civil matters from personal injury, contract disputes to debtor-creditor issues, property use issues. These are the exact types of cases that will fall into a designated civil district court like this one. As a young lawyer, I started as a litigator for a firm doing a lot of basic grunt work, learning how to run up a case, do discovery, motions practice, appear in court, run depositions, and then ultimately started my own practice, and I've been doing that the last 7 years. As part of that, I'm in courtroom almost every day. I'm in the courthouse 3, 4, 5 days a week. I know what the good courts do well. I know what the poor courts do poorly, unfortunately. I will be able to take this bench. I know I look young, but I will be able to take this bench and be able to move these dockets along efficiently and be efficient with taxpayer dollars. But at the same time, having been a litigator for my entire career, I've brought clients through the litigation process, and despite them being overwhelmed, brought them to a conclusion of their case and been able to see the resolution and the relief they get when their case is over. And being a judge and being able to do that on a massive scale is why I would like to do that and serve in this way. So Chris Buck for the 457. Thank you.
So we're ready? No, let's, we'll start actually with Mr. Buck. Based on the experience you have had, what made you decide to run for the 457th District Court, and in 3 or less sentences, what put you ahead of the others as a candidate in this race?
Well, just turning my on. So, I jumped in this race in October. I had known about this court being created coming out of the legislative session, and at the time there were a couple of candidates, and I was looking at their experience level, and I kept waiting for someone with the right values and 15, 20 years of civil litigation experience in the courtroom handling cases like, handling cases like the type that are going to end up in this court. And I've taken the time before I decided to run to go and talk to the judges that handle civil dockets in this county. So you have Judge Bays in the 284th, which is a full civil court. We also have Judge Robin as a civil docket in the 410th to go along with her family docket. And they will tell you straight away that the majority of cases that get heard in civil district courts in Montgomery County are personal injury and car accident cases, debtor-creditor issues, contract disputes, and property issues. Those make up the majority of those cases, and that's the majority of my experience and I've handled that type of case and those types of cases throughout my career. Now, I was standing up with a microphone. You had the second part of your question. Would you mind repeating that for me?
Let's see, in 3 or less sentences, what puts you ahead of the others as a candidate in this race?
Well, I have over a decade of civil litigation experience handling the types of cases that are going to be in this court. The other issue is kind of my service desire. I would like to be there, and I spoke a little bit ago about how you're able to, as an attorney, bring a client through a case and get them to a resolution and see the relief that comes over them and get them to that resolution. It's a very personal thing for the average person who's in court. Their case is their life, and the judge gets to do that at a rate of thousands a year, and that's why I would like the opportunity to serve that way.
Same questions. Okay, so my law firm, we have 3 lawyers. We have 3 paralegals. We're handling a docket of probably 250 cases. I have tried a jury trial in every kind of case you can imagine. Land disputes, family law custody case, a $40 million benzene contamination case, personal injury cases, probate litigation cases, all these in Montgomery County. I have 39 years of trial experience. I don't need to be up to speed on doing civil trial litigation. I was doing a mediation today. Judge Michael Mays was actually doing the mediation. Randy Bays is one of the other attorneys. I have a lot of cases with Montgomery County attorneys, and they're hard, they're complex, they're difficult, they have jury charge conferences, they're laden with a lot of discovery. That's what this court needs. They need someone who's up to speed, can handle any kind of civil trial litigation case, and who has the experience to do it. Since I've been doing this my whole career, I feel like this court's kind of made for me. It's a designated civil court, and it needs to relieve all of the civil cases that are coming into Montgomery County. I start day one. I've said, first thing I'm going to do is call Judge Bays and Judge Robin and say, you send me the baddest, nastiest cases you have, and I'll take them and I'll start handling them right now. And that's why I feel like I'm qualified. Thank you.
Yes, the second part is 3 or less sentences, what puts you ahead of the others as a candidate in this race?
I think my experience, my judicial temperament, anyone who knows me in Montgomery County knows that I've served with honor and integrity. I have publicly acknowledged respect for Charlie and Wally at one of these forums, and I've had an opportunity to work with many, many people. Thank you.
I decided to run for the 457th for service. Us conservatives know we need a strong conservative judge now more than ever. Because the liberals, they are attacking us, they're using the Marxist playbook, okay? They're attacking us through our education, right? Through the media, and through the courts. This is an area that our community needs to really get the right person that shares your values. I'm that person. I was asked to run for this bench by people in the community that have actually seen me administer justice and fight for justice and uphold constitutional rights in our county. And I talked with my wife, Mary, and we pray about it, and this was the decision. This is a vocation. This is a service to our county. That's why I'm running, to make sure that we have a strong conservative judge with conservative principles and that knows how to rule. What sets me aside and apart from these other fine gentlemen, fine candidates here, one of which is going to be that I'm used to making decisions like this, tough decisions on a wider scale, a grander scale. Part of my prosecution experience, I was a prosecutor, but I am, what I do right now, I'm a civil litigator all over the state of Texas. I'm administered to practice civil law in every single federal district court in Texas. And I have cases all over Texas. But my oath as a prosecutor is what separates me. I took an oath to see justice was done. I didn't just make sure one client's interests were met. I made sure everyone's rights were upheld. That sets me apart. My service, I serve our community, and I serve our church. I help our children. Talk about what the question before, how do we help our youth for our party? I do that weekly, on a weekly basis through our church. And then docket management, which we talked about before. Thank you very much.
For me, I've always wanted to be a judge or an elected official in some capacity. As I got a little bit older, I realized that another type of politician probably didn't suit me as well. I'm not what you consider a typical politician in terms of bravado and an excellent orator, public speaker. I'm a lot more reserved. I like to read, write, research. I'm a little bit more of a nerd. So I've always revered judges. I've always looked up to judges my entire life. They've been, for me, the most respectable members of political society. And so I've always wanted to do that. This particular court really coincided with where I was at in my life. I had resigned from a position that was based in Lexington, Kentucky. I was living here, traveling there. And my wife's grandfather passed away. We were living with him. We moved in with him to help take care of him. So this was like the first time in my life we could go wherever we wanted. And we decided that Montgomery County was going to be home forever. And then right along that same path, when we're making that decision, I learned of this court being created. And it does all civil law, which is my entire 15-year career. No incumbent to beat, so maybe a little bit less political. You don't have to know the political figures in order to try to get in there. So it really coincided perfectly with where I was at in my life, and maybe we'll never be in this spot again. I keep saying I'll probably never run again. What distinguishes me, I think, is my experience. I've got a broad experience in civil litigation, civil cases all over the world. I've been involved as corporate counsel to large and small companies, so I've been at a decision-making level. And I think I've lived my life with this kind of objective temperament. I know my weaknesses and strengths better than anybody, and I think I can apply that in the court as well. Thank you.
So this one goes to Bruce first. This is a race with several candidates that all have experience related to civil court. However, the role can go beyond just that civil court experience. From where would you draw your integrity and wisdom when serving in this role?
Here, I think, there, all right. Over my career, I've had an opportunity to appear before many, many judges, and I'm licensed in every federal United States District Court in Texas, the Fifth Circuit, and the Supreme Court. And during that whole time of my practice, I've had an opportunity to observe judges, appear before judges, do jury trials, and watch the demeanor of judges. And I've learned from that. I've learned that what I respect in a judge is what I want to be. And I want to be predictable. I want to be consistent in my rulings. I want to be fair. I want to be impartial. And if you're ever in court, and many of my clients, they get very frustrated because they can't get rulings out of the judge. They can't get prompt relief. Justice drags on, and their case costs them a lot of money. And I want you to think about this, and I've served in this community for a long time, but if you have something very, very near and dear to you, like your children, or your property, or your money, or your liberties that are being decided by one of these gentlemen up here, a judge, I want you to think about it, because you may be in that situation, and I think you should make your decision on who you want to be in this position, on who you want to make that decision over those very personal things in your life. And I've learned from my experience. I've served the community in different areas, and I hope that I've earned your respect and that I've served with honor.
I think the question, where do we draw our integrity and wisdom. And so, as a judge, we're going to take an oath. Whoever wins, whoever y'all decide is the right person, we'll take an oath to preserve, protect, and defend the constitutions and the laws. All right? And I would draw my wisdom and integrity from the Constitution. It's the greatest document. The Constitution, it's a structure of government. My judicial philosophy is from that. I'm an originalist, I'm a textualist, and I believe that the judges should be doing their role according to what's written in the Constitution. That's first and foremost. I believe that the judges are, out of the three branches, are the weakest. It should be the weakest branch. We shouldn't be revising, amending, changing any of the laws, rewriting the laws. So the wisdom and integrity, it comes from being able to look to the Constitution, look to the framers, look to read the Federalist Papers. Okay? What is our legal system based off of? That's a really good spot to start learning your integrity and wisdom. And then the laws. Stick with your oath. Uphold justice. Say what you mean, do what you say. That's what I'm about, that's where I would draw. And then of course my faith. If something came to a moral decision, if it was really hard, it affected everything, it was an unpopular decision, what the right decision should be based on our values and our faith, and starting with the Constitution and the laws. Thank you very much.
Integrity and wisdom. First thing that popped into my head, I'll be honest, was God, family, country, Notre Dame football. But no, that's not very popular out here in Texas. But really, it does follow that to a certain extent. My integrity and wisdom first draws from my upbringing in faith as a Christian, my belief in the Bible. It follows through my development in undergraduate school as a constitutional law sort of expert. I'd hate to use the term expert, but I have no PhD. But my undergraduate studies was in American political thought. I've read just about everything the founders have ever written. My greatest mentor, he was out here for my fundraiser a few months ago, a professor by the name of Dr. Ed Erler, one of the foremost conservative constitutional scholars in the country. The people who developed my thought process instilled in me that integrity. Following that, my mentors as a lawyer, I've dealt with and been around some incredibly good lawyers. I've been in front of some incredibly good judges. I'm the type of person that doesn't think I can't learn. I'm learning every day, and I'm a sponge for information from anybody I come in contact with. So my experience as an attorney, I've learned some hard lessons, I've learned some easy lessons, and finally the high standard that I hold myself to every day. Nobody is harder on me than me, I promise you. I'm a perfectionist, I work hard. My wife will tell you, I hold her to that perfectionist standard, sometimes for the worst, but I expect a standard that I'm willing to give. I wouldn't ask you to give it if I'm unwilling to give it myself. So all of those things I think added together form my basis, form my integrity, and then as you experience life, you get wise. That's where wisdom comes from, is experience. So I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
Is this on? Okay. Can you give me the question one more time? Because I want to make sure I answer it directly.
Yes. This is a race with several candidates that all have experience related to civil court. However, the role could go beyond just the civil court experience. From where would you draw your integrity and wisdom when serving in this role?
Okay. Integrity comes from, number one, it comes from your upbringing and your background. You're trained. You're not born with any morals generally. You are trained by your family and by your parents. I grew up in a police officer's home. My dad was a 27-year veteran of DPS. Grew up in the Lutheran Church, Salem Lutheran Church in Tomball, so some of you guys probably have heard of that area. Graduated all the way through 8th grade there, went through school there. And so I had a Christian Lutheran education up until high school, where I went to public school for high school. I'm very, very fortunate. My parents still married, still living in Tomball. My grandparents lived in Tomball until my grandmother passed away, but I was fortunate enough to have two sets of parents because they were at everything. Every Little League game, everything. And also, and at a church school like that, the old classic saying, it takes a village to raise a child. I was fortunate enough to have a great village. And I had a group of friends to this day that I was crawling around the preschool church floor with at the age of 2 that are still my personal and life friends today. And I can tell you that their parents could correct me just as easily as my parents could throughout my entire childhood. And so that core morality and that core upbringing is where you get your integrity from, a sense of right and wrong. Okay. Now, wisdom comes from experience. And like others have said here, being in a courtroom and seeing other judges do it a lot is where you get a lot of experience from. I've been fortunate to be in front of a bunch of judges. The best judges have a certain demeanor and wisdom where they don't rush to judgment, they take their time, and they make a calm, confident decision, but they don't have to throw their authority in your face. And so that's where I would come from.
I'm going to start with Mr. Santini this time. The state ethics site has released campaign information already, so tell us who your top 3 donors are, how much they donated to finance your campaign, and your relationship with these people.
Great question. I believe in transparency and accountability, and I'm happy to share my campaign finance report with everybody in this room. I'm proud of it. I have no PACs, no divisive PACs giving me thousands of dollars. My mom and dad, John and Kathy Santini, so my relationship is biological son. They gave me a combined $4,000 so far. And what's really great about my campaign finance report, what I'm most proud of, are people that don't really, well, they have a stake in this court because it affects the community, right? But this is a civil court. And my adversaries from the criminal side of my career, who have no stake, they don't have any interest in the civil court. So Morgan Bork, he's a very talented criminal defense attorney from the Woodlands. He underwrote my fundraiser, $2,500 right there, which is the maximum amount. So judicial candidates, we are limited to how much money we can receive and accept from individuals. $2,500 is the maximum for an individual. So Morgan Burke gave me the maximum. His father, Gerald Burke, who's one of the most renowned criminal defense attorneys for capital murder defense, if you've probably seen him on TV, he gave me $1,000. Chris Allen, Bill Patillo, I think they combined for about $2,700. Those were some of the big ones. There's some more, but what's amazing is these are people that have seen me, who are my adversaries. They don't have a stake in this court. They won't have cases in this court, and they believe in my career and administering justice.
So I'll be sort of short with this. Well, I'm already short, but I'll be brief. We'll use a better word. My daughter, I guess, is my largest campaign financier because I am pretty much self-funding for the most part. So this is coming out of our savings. I'm the only candidate in my race, by the way, and this is not a knock on any of these guys, but I'm the only one not working right now, making a living. I'm campaigning full-time. I'm 100% committed to winning this election. So most of my money is coming out of my pocket. My father has given me $6,000. My in-laws, $2,500. A few $1,000 contributions. My professor I just mentioned, a few other people, but largely my donations have been relatively small from citizens. And Vince was touching on it. Those are, I mean, of course I'm appreciative of all the other people who have contributed to my campaign, but those are the most meaningful to me because again, when I started this campaign in August, none of you knew me except my wife and daughter. I knew one local politician, and even then as a friend, not in a professional manner. So to have anybody be willing to give me 50 bucks, 100 bucks, it's been incredibly humbling and meaningful. And the more of those, I very much appreciate those far more than, well, I appreciate my dad too, I don't want to say I don't, but those are so much more meaningful because my dad has an interest in me being successful. So I think those are the big ones, nothing overly major.
This will be quick for me because I think I completed the campaign finance for the ethics committee, the report, maybe a week ago, and all the money on it came from me and my wife. So, and I'm perfectly comfortable with that fact. I've spoken with a handful of people that said, look, nobody should be more invested in your campaign than you. And so I don't have a problem with that at all. Since then, my parents and my mom also contributed a little bit, and that's it. So.
Okay, this is going to be kind of embarrassing. I couldn't even get the website working. So the donate button won't work, all right? So that has been weeks. Yeah, it's been weeks. So the biggest campaign contributors would be the dollar contributions. We kept trying to push on the donate now button. It would be Diana Tough, some guy named Rodney. I think Aaron may have done it. So it's a big zero right now. But I'll tell you what, I am open to accepting campaign contributions. I'm having a big event tomorrow night at Glade. Tuesday night, starts at 5:30. I'll see you all there. Thank you.
This one's for you, Bobby. You're applying for a job. Who on your resume is recommending you for this job, and what would they tell us about you?
So I hope everybody on my resume is gonna say that I should win. And I think they would. If you look at my career, I've been incredibly blessed. I've worked for and with some incredibly good lawyers. I've worked with some very good mentors. My first job out of law school was with an attorney that I clerked with when I was in law school. And I ended up leaving there, not because of a bad relationship with him, although I will say I'm a pretty strong-willed person. I would go home in tears some nights because of how bad I thought I was as a lawyer and how hard he was on me. But he hardened me as a lawyer, and he made me a good lawyer. And when I decided to leave his firm, he sent clients with me. My clients that I was doing work for, he said, I want you to take them and start your own practice with a base of clients. Lawyers don't give up business like that. From there, I've met a ton of incredible professionals. I work largely in a professional capacity. I do not advertise my firm. I don't have a storefront. I don't have a shingle hung somewhere. All of my business comes strictly from word of mouth and relationships that I've built over the years. And I'm incredibly proud of that, because to have an executive or another lawyer recommend me is incredibly professionally meaningful. It is the highest honor you can get. I'd like to think that they would tell you everything that I'm telling you about myself. Again, I feel like I'm fairly objective about myself, and that they would say, and I've talked to some of my friends about this and whether or not they thought I was good for this, and to a man and woman, they've all said that I am judicial and I'm going to be a great judge.
I assume you want professional references, I guess, right? I think the name that jumps in my head immediately was a judge out of Harris County named Bonnie Helms. She has told me anytime that I want to apply for an appointed judge position or any kind of position that requires kind of a judicial appointment, she told me, go ahead, put my name down. I'd be happy to talk to whoever you need to. And that's the kind of thing that kind of motivated me to get in this race to begin with, because ultimately, and I was in Judge Underwood's office a few weeks ago, and I was sitting in there, and Judge Jerry Winfrey, who's retired now from this county, was in that office as well. And I think he sat on the bench for almost 3 decades and never got appealed. And I mean, he got appealed, never got overturned on appeal, which is just an absolutely crazy thought, truthfully. And here's the thing about him that I saw him do over and over and over again in a courtroom is that he was not above pulling out the code book and reading the law to refresh his memory or see what the new change was. And so you asked about reference, and that's what Judge Helms would say about me, is that smart guy, willing to do the work, and also has a lot of courtroom experience, and has also gotten her overturned on appeal. So that's probably why she would recommend me. So.
Thank you. So what was the question? Was it resume? Was that the...
Yeah, it's who on your resume is recommending you for this job, and what would they tell us about you?
Okay. So the event I'm having tomorrow night at Lake Gallery on Woodlands Parkway is hosted by civil trial attorneys all through Montgomery County. And those are the people that have encouraged me to apply for this position to the voters of Montgomery County. They are great trial attorneys. And I will tell you about my law practice. I don't advertise. I get all my cases from referrals, and those referrals are from attorneys. They're attorneys that I've known in Harris County, that I've worked with in Houston, doing civil trial litigation work. Still, they refer any case that comes up to Montgomery County. I was actually mediating a case with Jack Stibbs. He's an attorney in Montgomery County, been here a long time. He said, Bruce, you got to move your practice up here. Come on up. And then I partnered up with him. Our office is in Spring, Greater Woodlands area. He's helping host an event. Jim Blair, Nelda Blair, Maris Blair, James Stillwell, Mike Beller, Lee Crawley. I mean, there's a whole lot of good friends of mine, great lawyers, and they are on my resume. They're hosting the event tomorrow night. They're hosting for me, they're supporting me, and they're encouraging me to run. And I guess it's for one reason. It's we need a civil trial judge in Montgomery County that can handle civil trial cases right off the bat, day one. Take care of these cases that are clogging up. There's only 2 courts that are doing it. We need another court to do it. So please come to my event tomorrow night. Thank you.
So when I think of resume and references that y'all need to know, because this is a job. Y'all are hiring us, okay? So if I were to give you references, I would give you people who I have worked for. So I would start with my last 2 bosses. My previous boss being Brett Ligon, our current district attorney. If you come to my table over there, the best looking table here, you're going to see 8 DA awards that I was given. I was committed. I was the person, if there was a new law that came down, they needed someone to research the law and go prosecute it, I was the person that they went to. I tried a bunch of different cases, and I upheld y'all's rights. And I've been in the limelight for a decade, and I represented y'all very well. I never really had any negative trolling or anything. It was always good things, protecting our rights in our community. I'd go with my current boss, Bill Voss, civil litigation firm. When I was hired there, you have to make numbers just like any other job, and I far exceeded anyone's expectations. I was the #1 grossing attorney in the firm. This is a civil litigation firm. I have cases all over the state, which we talked about before. I would go with Dr. Victoria Constance. She's the director of Children's Advocacy Center, Children's Safe Harbor. I'm on the executive board for Safe Harbor, where I raise money and awareness for children who are physically and sexually abused under the age of 10. I'm the chair of the fundraising committee for that wonderful organization that helps our community. And lastly, I'd go with Father Christopher Wynn. He's our pastor at St. Matthias Catholic Church in Magnolia. He would tell you all the great service that I'm doing for our community, our youth, our engaged couples, and to protect the Second Amendment and church services. Thank you very much.
We're going to give the candidates 2 minutes to sum up what they want us to hear. And we want to thank our moderators for doing such a wonderful job tonight. Give them a big round. And gentlemen, this is your 2 minutes. Where did we leave off, lady? Okay.
They're gonna make those chairs a little taller than average. So, okay, well, first of all, thank you for the event tonight. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with anybody about my kind of resume and how I would like to serve this community. We gotta cut off a little bit quick on the introduction. I want to continue on that is, ultimately, the rewarding part of being an attorney, doing the practice that I have, guiding clients through a lawsuit is this. For the average person that's not a lawyer, they show up to the courthouse, parking, security, the labyrinth that the courthouse is. It's a stressful, overwhelming, not a fun place to be. And on top of that, unless they're there for jury duty, if they have a case there, that civil case is likely one of only 2 or 3 times, maybe less, that they're ever going to have a lawsuit that they're involved in as a party. It is a stressful, overwhelming situation for them. It's one of the markers in their life that they will never forget. And so, having had the opportunity to guide people through that process, get them to resolution, see the relief that comes over them, even if they don't get exactly what they were hoping for in the case, if they felt like the process was fair and they had their voice heard, you can see it on their posture, their tone of voice, their body language. There is a relief that sets in, and they are able to move on with their life and their business, and that's that kind of relief that you can see is rewarding. And as an attorney that's handled these kind of cases for over a decade, I've had the opportunity to see that for a few hundred clients, and like I said previously, having the opportunity to do
For the turnout tonight. We cannot thank you enough. The Magnolia area Republican Women's Group is just thrilled with the turnout.
Chris Jones, he's the current constable here on your right. And then we have Brian Clack, who is running also, and he's a police officer in Magnolia.
Gentlemen, you get 2 minutes to tell for your opening. So get ready. Ladies, do you have any preference how we're going to go? How are they on the ballot? Okay, Brian, you get to go first.
Hello everyone, my name is Brian Clack. I grew up here in the Magnolia area. Was born in Houston. My family moved to Magnolia when I was 8 years old. I went to Deck Prairie Elementary the first year that it was open there in Deck Prairie. Once I was a little older, I went to work in a photography company and worked for a boss for several years and eventually opened my own photography company. It was not my passion at that time, so I went back to my family's company, which is Tomball Sheet Metal, where my grandfather owned it. I worked for him for many years doing different supervisor roles in that area. At the end, I was estimating all their jobs, over $1 million jobs. I met my beautiful wife while I was taking pictures, and I married her. We've been married now for 20 years this year. We have 2 boys, a 16-year-old and a 13-year-old, and we built our house next door to my parents. My life is my family. I'm a family man. Can't get away from my family. I live my life day to day for my family. I wanted to protect my family, so at the age of 30, I went into the police academy and graduated. I was hired with Magnolia Police Department, and since I've been with Magnolia Police Department, I've been their detective for over 10 years now. I've investigated just about any type of crime that there is, burglaries, robberies, death investigations, sexual assaults, anything and everything that has come across our desk, I've investigated it. And 8 years ago, I decided to run against Constable David Hill. I believe that this office needed someone to stand up and make this office a more proactive office. At that time, they said that they only did civil and they would never do any criminal investigations. Since I've ran, the department has actually stepped up and started doing that. I believe that is due to my credit for me standing up against that office and asking for them to do it.
Good evening. I want to thank Magnolia Area Republican Women for having us tonight. I want to thank everybody for coming out because y'all are the ones going to be deciding about this community, who's going to be protecting you in Precinct 5. My name is Chris Jones. I'm currently your constable out here in Precinct 5. I grew up in Magnolia. I've been here for 45 years. I'm a Magnolia High School graduate in 1991. At that time, I went to Sam Houston State University up in Huntsville and graduated with a criminal justice degree. I actually went back in 2006 and got my master's degree in criminal justice management. I've worked here in this same department for 23 years, going on 24 years. I'm the only person here, only person in this area that has ever served every role as in the Precinct 5. I started off as a reserve deputy, non-paid. I've been a deputy, a school resource officer. I've been in ICAC investigations. I've been a sergeant. I've been a lieutenant. I've been a captain, and I've been a chief deputy, and in October 1st of 2018, I was appointed constable out here after Constable David Hill retired. So that is my resume, and that's what I love to do. I have family out here. I have a lot of family here tonight. I believe in our community. I believe in getting out and supporting our community. I like to get out there and cook for our community, to do whatever I can to serve our community. And that's what I'm here tonight. That's what I want to do. Please elect me. Thank you.
Why are you running for this position and what are your qualifications?
I'm running for this position because I believe that somebody needs to stand up for our community. Somebody needs to be there for our community to make sure that they are safe at all times. 8 years ago, when I was eating breakfast with other deputies with other departments, someone said somebody needs to stand up against Precinct 5 and make sure that they change and start assisting other agencies, start performing criminal going after criminals in our area, and not only doing their civil process. I have stepped up, and that was my main reason for doing that. I wanted to fight the drugs in our area. There was nobody at the Precinct 5 at that time that was fighting drugs in our area. Since then, they have started that. I need to make sure that it continues to happen because drugs are the death of our society. Narcotics in our area have overwhelmed our communities and taken over. We need to make sure that somebody stays on top of that at all times. I believe that it's in our schools. I believe that we need to be running a canine officer through our schools on a daily basis to make sure that they're not in our schools. I have many other things that I would like to do with this department. I want to make sure that the training for each and every one of our deputies is top notch. Precinct 5 holds the commission for the training facility in our area. I think that that department should be providing more training to other officers, not just their department, but other officers in our area to make sure that we're all trained, capable to approach any situation at all times.
Yes, why are you running for this position and what are your qualifications?
I have worked for Montgomery County Precinct 5 Constables Office since 1996. It's been my career. Like I said, I started off in the schools. I've been a deputy. I've worked my way up all the way to constable. I've served as constable for the last 16 months. In the last year, I have these. So we're talking about stats and everything. I can prove that over the last year, our stats have gone up. Everything we do has gone up. I believe in creating a patrol division, which we did back in 2016, and it's grown ever since. I have a civil division that takes care of all of our calls, including 4,200 calls for service. 4,200 calls for service. So we do this on a daily basis. I think I'm qualified because I've been doing it. I've been doing it from day one when I started in 1996, October 1st of 1996 as a reserve deputy. I've given everything I can to grow this department, to make it a better department so we can serve the community better. Thank you.
civil court documents. How do you feel about working with other agencies?
That's a great question. Thank you very much. I work with other agencies all the time. We work with Magnolia PD. We work with the Sheriff's Department, Stagecoach, DPS. We work with a lot of federal agencies as well in our narcotics task force. We do a lot of different things out there. Civil is our main function. We take care of that. I have 4 great guys that take care of that. 4 great guys and 1 lieutenant. I can't leave him out. He's here. So they do a great job of taking care of everything they need to do civil-wise, so the rest of my guys can focus on DWIs and narcotics. I believe that the Constable's Office should be what they call a force multiplier. And when we deal with Rand Henderson, the sheriff, and all the other 4 precincts here, we all communicate. I've got a great relationship with everybody that are holding those offices, and we communicate on a regular basis on what we should be doing better in our communities. Also, you have to be able to communicate with your commissioner's court. You've got to be able to go up there, show the numbers that you've been doing, and show them that, hey, we're going to continue to do this as long as you give me the manpower to do that. We've had that over the last couple of years. When we started our patrol division, we've been able to grow by 3 deputies every year for the last 3 years, and we continue that growth to meet the community's growth. Okay? Thank you.
Same question to you.
Same question?
Yeah.
And the question was?
In the past, the primary task of the constable was to serve civil court documents. How do you feel about working with other agencies?
Yes, the main goal is civil process, but I believe that you have to work with every agency out there. You have to tell every agency what you're doing. You have to be able to show what you can and can't do with other agencies. With Conroe PD, all of the investigators in Montgomery County and surrounding counties would go to Conroe PD on a monthly basis, and we'd have monthly meetings. We would share all different stories that were going on in our community, and we would solve crimes. We solved crimes that the same burglars were breaking in the mini storages here in Magnolia, were breaking in the storage buildings in Huntsville. We have to work together to be able to get that accomplished. Since Conroe PD no longer does that, I have hosted the meetings over the past 2 years. Constable's Office has shown up 3 times for those meetings since I've taken over doing those meetings each month. We need to work together more. We are not working together at this time as they've currently said.
Brian here. The state ethics site released campaign information, so tell us who your top 3 donors are, how much they donated to finance your campaign, as well as your relationship with these people.
Okay, like I said, I've ran for this office 3 times. The last time that I ran, or the very first time that I ran, I purchased my t-shirts, I purchased my signs, I purchased all the stuff that I needed to run this campaign. Only thing that I need to do now is keep getting voters to vote for me. On this election, my family has supported me throughout this election. I don't have any outside contributors at this time.
Hello? All right. That is a great question. I've had a lot of donations. When I became constable 16 months ago, at that point I started putting money into the community, and at that point I had a fundraiser. I had several donations. Some off the top of my head that I remember because I was not expecting this question tonight for exact. I know Ray Jordan, who's a family friend of mine for over 30 years. Him and his son-in-law probably donated about $4,000 to my campaign. Tony Gullo from Gullo, I believe that he bought a quilt for I believe $6,000 at my campaign fundraiser. And I've had several smaller donations that come in. And I'll tell you, I've had a lot of good support and a lot of big money supporters that have come in and given me that money. But it's nothing like the little $50, $20, $100, whatever it is right there, because those add up to a lot more of the other ones. I don't have any special interest groups that are behind me, that are plugging me with full of money. They are all people that I've known for a long time, that are big into the community, business owners in the community, that support what I'm doing in the community. Thank you.
so that you close.
Once again, thank you for having me out tonight. I want to thank everybody here. I know it is 8:30 on a Monday night when a lot of people had a holiday today, and I want to thank everybody for coming out. In the future, these are my numbers. They go up every year. They've gone up every year for the last 4 years since I was chief deputy, and now as the constable. I continue to work effortlessly every day with all my guys. You can see a lot of my guys that are out here right now. They're here today to support me because we have a good organization to work for. We hired 10 deputies to go into the school 2 years ago. I didn't even have to post applications for that. We had a lot of people volunteering to come work for this agency. I have good morale in this agency, and I believe it's going to continue to be that way. I will continue to produce these numbers. But why should you vote for me? I have proven leadership in this community. I'm involved in this community. I've been here for 45 years. I cook for veterans on Veterans Day. I'm involved with the different organizations. I have to do something just about every week, and I absolutely love it. I've loved it for the last 20 years. I didn't just start this in the last 16 months when I became constable. I've been involved with this community since I've lived here. I want to be here. This is where I want to be. So I thank you for coming out tonight. I've had a couple endorsements in the last week. The Republican voters of Texas PAC. The Montgomery Professional Firefighters Association. And the Houston Apartment Association, which we talked about civil. We do a lot of evictions. We do a lot of writs for apartments. All the apartments out in this area use the Houston Apartment Association. So for them to come in and endorse me today makes me feel good about what I'm doing. So thank you for your support, and I look forward to it in the future. Thank you.
Again, I'm Brian Clack, and I'm running for the Precinct 5 Constables Office. This is my third time to run, third time's a charm. I hope that we get it this time. On the last time that I ran, I had over 4,000 votes on that election. That election was very high due to the fact that Trump, Cruz, and all of them was running as well. So a lot of people came out. If I would have had those numbers the first time, I would have won the first election. But we've been able to get out there, get my name out there, and make a difference to where people know who I am. People know that I'm ethical, people know that I'm dedicated, people know that I have great integrity and will always do the right thing for our community. I am here for you. I am not a politician, I am a cop. I want to make sure that we enforce the law in our community, do the civil process that is necessary, and make sure that you have a constable's office that you will respect at all times. My name is Brian Clack. Vote for me. Thanks.
I have two things that I want to talk about. If anybody happened to pick up some of these are awards that Ben Santini has won. And he had them sitting on his table. Somebody may have thought that they were a token or something along that line.
I'll return those.
Okay. Oh, isn't that funny? Okay, here's something that I need each and every one of you to consider. This year, they are short on election judges and clerks to work the polls on election day. A lot of that is because we have so many people running for precinct chair. So, please consider stepping up, and it's a long day, I'll tell you, because I've done it. It's a long day, but it's really not bad. And it's something that we really need. We need to make sure that that's on March 3rd. We're covered with early voting, right? Yeah, early voting is covered. It's March 3rd that we need people to volunteer to be clerks and election judges. You actually, it's not even a volunteer position, you get paid for it. Not a lot, but yeah, $12 an hour. All right, thank you. Jenna.
Hi, everybody. I need to know if there's any old or any new